given the recent developments, obviously given that Ghalibaf was, for a short time, able to subjugate members of the Paydari camp with the threat of American assassination, and given that that's basically no longer a credible threat, I'm curious as to how you think internally this is going to play out with the regime remnants in terms of them sort of taking revenge on Ghalibaf now, and how basically, if because they tend to want to purge their own internal enemies before they even focus on the external ones historically. I'm just curious what your thoughts were on that and if you think his days are numbered.
So you think the recent developments by the IRGC shooting at ships and being aggressive against the Americans, you think that means that the more aggressive elements within the Islamic Republic have won over Ghalibaf? Is that the assumption that comes with this question?
That's part of it, but I think the main assumption is that the American support for Ghalibaf has been withdrawn. Basically, they don't see him as a credible negotiator in terms of him being able to actually enact the deals he makes. And given that he can no longer threaten Paydari members with American assassination, at least not on his, sort of whim and order, I'm curious if you think that it's basically going to be payback time for them to go after Ghalibaf for initially, trying to subjugate them with that American threat.
I mean, I don't think so. I think I mean, right now it's even gets Ghalibaf will be able to threaten them even more because they're like, oh, look, the Americans are angry. They're very angry, right? So, and I don't think that this is right now what we're saying. The military operations happening is basically the loss of the Ghalibaf camp. I think whether you're Ghalibaf or Paydari within the Islamic Republic, the understanding is that we cannot give rid of the Strait of Hormuz. So Ghalibaf wants to give the Americans a lot of things to basically capitulate to them. But honestly, like there's giving them their understanding justifiably is that if we lose the Strait of Hormuz, we're so vulnerable. Like they will be able to do whatever they want to us after that. Like they only have three leverages. I think there's a little bit more agreement right now on what needs to be done. I think there's a lot of so I think the main conflict right now is between the officials within the regime and the people who used to the civilians who used to support the regime. That is the main conflict. I think within the regime there's a little bit more of an alignment than people think. I think the people who want to be more aggressive to the Americans and Israelis understand that the utility of Ghalibaf at this moment, and they're actually afraid if Ghalibaf, for example, is eliminated, if they wanted to talk to them, who would be able to do what he does right now? Like there's almost no alternative, right? And also, I think Ghalibaf also understands what the other side is saying to a certain extent. Like, if you just let the Americans come and completely take the Strait of Hormuz out of your control, they're also destroying Hezbollah and let them just basically destroy Hezbollah or weaken Hezbollah. And also, right now in Iraq, right now as we speak, Ali Zaidi is in Washington D.C. meeting with President Trump, basically giving everything to President Trump that he wanted. Basically, the proxies of the Islamic Republic in Iraq are being sold out by the new Iraqi prime minister to the Americans. So that is the Islamic Republic is slowly losing Iraq, Lebanon, and the Houthis are also being bombed by the Saudis as we speak right now. So that's happening as well. So the proxies are becoming weaker. The enriched uranium is under the ground and can't be turned into a nuclear weapon yet. And so if we lose the Strait of Hormuz, then we're basically sitting ducks. We have no deterrence capabilities, and by that point, the United States doesn't even need to do anything. The United States could just give the green light to Israel, and there's nothing that the Islamic Republic can do in return. So the resistance of our giving up the Strait of Hormuz is a little bit. There's a little bit more agreement on that in the Islamic Republic. And I think Ghalibaf has proven himself to be very useful to the Americans against different elements of the Islamic Republic. And there is no alternative to Ghalibaf. So even if the Americans are frustrated with the Islamic Republic not capitulating to them, I think Ghalibaf use case is too much for now for the Americans to completely abandon him. Does that make sense?
It does, yeah. It's very interesting analysis. And to that end, I'm curious if you think that Ghalibaf can still end up on top in his quest to become the new supreme leader.
Well, I mean, he can't be the supreme leader because he's not a religious figure, right? He needs to He's not an ayatollah. He's not even a mullah. I mean, here's the interesting. Mujtaba Khamenei shouldn't be a supreme leader. Can't be a supreme leader because he's not an ayatollah. So that's illegal according to the Islamic Republic's own constitution, which they don't seem to care. But at least he is a mullah. At least he's a, I don't know, he's a mujtahid. So for you to be a supreme leader, you need to first become a mujtahid. Then you need to become an ayatollah. No, Mujtahid, Hujjatul Islam, and then Ayatollah, and then a Grand Ayatollah, and then you could potentially be a supreme leader if the Council of the Experts choose you. But it's illegal under the Islamic Republic Constitution for you to be the supreme leader if you're not a Grand Ayatollah. And neither Khamenei or Mushtaba. So Khamenei was an Ayatollah, but not a Grand Ayatollah, and Mushtaba wasn't even an Ayatollah. So neither of them should have been supreme leader. But Ghalibaf is not even a mullah, so he would never be a supreme leader. Ghalibaf wants to be in charge by putting a supreme leader in charge that would be his puppet. That's what he wants to do. I suspect Ali Khomeini would be a good supreme leader if they somehow come and announce that Mushtaba is dead or they kill him if he's alive. I think Ali Khomeini would be a good supreme leader that Ghalibaf could control. But no, he wouldn't be the supreme leader. He could be the main guy in charge because before Ali Khamenei became the supreme leader, Rafsanjani was trying to become the main guy in charge by making Ali Khamenei a symbolic supreme leader. That didn't work out for him because Ali Khamenei eventually became very powerful and killed Rafsanjani, Hashemi Rafsanjani. But Ghalibaf is trying to do what Rafsanjani tried and failed to do with Ali Khamenei. But you don't have to be the supreme leader to be the main guy in charge.
No, I should have clarified. I didn't mean supreme leader in the traditional
Mhm.
sense. I mean de facto supreme leader after
De
America
facto.
kills all of his enemies and basically
Yeah.
could run the table in terms of the new Iran, the Third Republic. But I appreciate that information very much. Thank you.
So here's the interesting thing. It is possible that in the short term, Ghalibaf will come on top, but it's hard to believe how sustainable that could be given that the support for Ghalibaf in Iran is 0%. Like, I'm not exaggerating when I say that almost all support for Ghalibaf is paid for. Like, he has no support for the secular minded Iranian people who are anti regime, but he also has almost 0% support in the traditional base of support for the Islamic Republic. He doesn't even have support. I usually joke around and say, like, I don't think even Ghalibaf's mom supports him without Ghalibaf paying him in Iran. I don't think there's a single person that organically supports Ghalibaf in Iran. So that's why, like, if he is in charge, that's a very unstable situation.
Okay,
I think instability is a good thing in this case.
so let's go to a response from Siddhartha.
Yeah, I mean, I guess it's a question for you to follow up on this. Is anyone vying for leadership within the regime? Are they, in a sense, forced to at least publicly declare enmity with the US and Israel? So, like, basically, like, whether they are negotiating behind the scenes, publicly they have to posture?
Yeah, of course. If they do, so they right now the situation in the people who were traditionally the base of support for the Islamic Republic. I say traditionally because before Khamenei's death, the people who supported the Islamic Republic, honestly, they didn't even support the Islamic Republic. They just supported Ali Khamenei. Even back then, they hated the officials of the Islamic Republic. But right now, with the Ali Khamenei's death, these people who want Islamic rule, they don't support the Islamic Republic, and they say that Ghalibaf has done a coup against the supreme leader, and Jews are now in control of the country. The traditionally pro-Islamic Republic people believe that there has been a Jewish takeover of the Islamic Republic. Like, the Islamic Republic represents the Jews, and there has been a coup happening under the leadership of Ghalibaf, Pezeshkian, and Araghchi, and Rouhani and Zarif and people like that. And even the people who don't go that far, they do think that the current people in power are not representing the ideals of the Islamic Revolution. They're not behind the supreme leader, that they're capitulating to the Americans and Israelis. And the regime is trying to find a way to appease them, really trying to appease them. So they cannot, they have to even when they are negotiating with the Americans and they're capitulating here and there, they have to pretend to those people that they're basically using a strategy of maximum aggression, or else these people will turn against them. And the Islamic Republic fears that the most. I've been predicting this day for the past 5 years, by the way. 5 years ago on my Persian YouTube channel, I was saying like the Islamic Republic fears the most the day that there will be a double uprising. So we already have the secular, democratic, secular-minded uprising of the Iranian people against the regime. And I always said that's not the greatest fear of the Islamic Republic. The greatest fear is with the day that comes that on top of that, their base will turn up and rise up against them as well. And we're getting closer and closer to that date. And many people on my Persian channel tell me, like, Armin, you told us this will happen 5 years ago, and now it's happening. Yeah. I don't know. Did I answer your question?
Yeah, you did. I mean, I think it's interesting because it just seems like even if there are strategic reasons for some sort of like a détente, right? I'm thinking about like Arafat as an example, like Arafat trying to sell Oslo to Arabs. And my understanding is that how he did it behind the scenes was that he was saying like, okay, look, it's a temporary peace deal, but we'll have the high terrain, well, and within several years or so we can rearm, and then we would have a good strategic position to attack from. And even that was sort of untenable from sort of a public posturing standpoint. In the case of the regime logic, it seems like, okay, even if there's some sort of strategic benefit to sort of ending the conflict, it's not possible from a public positioning standpoint for the leadership. And so therefore they're trapped by their own sort of PR, I guess.
Yeah, exactly. Right now, the situation is that there's two narratives that the most important thing right now. So it used to be, why are we thinking the USS Abraham Lincoln? Why haven't we destroyed Israel? And before that, it used to be, why are there so many hijabless women in the streets? Why are we not doing more executions of the people who are against the regime, right? Why aren't we not doing revenge for Qasem Soleimani properly, right? Why does Israel still exist after they killed the supreme leader, right? Why are the American bases still in the region after they killed the supreme leader? Okay, but now everything is going. The main narrative right now by this pro I don't know, the jihadi pro-regime Iranians, people in Iran, now is like revenge, revenge, revenge. Everything is now focused on revenge. Revenge for the blood of the supreme leader. And the way there's no regime officials that coming out and saying like, okay, we're not going to do revenge. So the people who want to, the more aggressive people that are basically against the current officials, they're saying we need revenge and we need it now. And the revenge means, the minimum of revenge means that Trump is eliminated, right? That's the minimum. They also want more. They want also Israel destroyed and also American bases completely evacuated by the Americans here. But the minimum is Trump eliminated. That's what they said. Like, we accept nothing less, right? But then the other side is not like the other side who's trying to figure out how to capitulate to the Americans. Their narrative is not no revenge. Their narrative is like, yes, revenge. Revenge takes time. It takes preparation. Revenge requires training of future generations of people. Revenge is living an Islamic life and following in the footsteps of the supreme leader. So these are the ways that they're trying to come up with a different way of selling revenge. But the other side also comes at and recognizes that they're being lied to, and they're like, don't redefine revenge to us. Revenge means exactly this, right? So that's the fight. The people definition of revenge, but nobody's saying we're not going to do revenge. It's just that the argument is, what does revenge mean?
Okay, and then Kathy put a 4.
I didn't put a 4, I put a 2.
Okay.
2 times though. Okay, go ahead.
I'm sorry, an accident. You mentioned that there would be you predicted a double uprising. So, hypothetical, this is just a hypothetical question. What is the likelihood of the anti-Islamic Republic people and the pro-Islamic Republic people team up to overthrow the Islamic Republic?
0%. 0%.
Okay.
They hate each other.
They could, you don't, yeah, I see your point.
Yes, they would. What I suggest we do is, instead of going out and dying, maybe these people could go first and make it easier for us to go second. That's what I say. That's what I say on the Persian channel, is like, maybe they could take a stat about it and then we go after they're done. But no cooperation. Here's the thing: we could infiltrate and pretend that we're cooperating. That's what they did with us. Okay, so we could infiltrate and basically their groups and pretend that we're cooperating with them, and also just keep on to the maximalist demand narratives, right?
My name is Armin Navabi. I'm an Iranian political analyst with decades of experience fighting the Islamic regime inside and outside of Iran. Make sure you follow me for more, and also make sure you join our discussion group. I'm there almost every single day. Come talk to me there and the rest of the people there in our group calls. It's a great place to meet and talk to people who like talking about politics. The link is in the description and or in the bio. You could also get there by scanning the QR code on the screen. See you there.